Hello, my name is Katie Love, and I was a colleague and friend of Chip's at the Wikimedia Foundation for many, many years. And he was the one who set me up with my laptop sleeve. This is it. It's a daily reminder for me of Chip and of his contributions to our organization and of our friendship. I wanted to share that with you. I think one of my favorite memories of Chip is towards the end of his career at the foundation. He and I met in a conference room ostensibly to talk about something that I don't remember. And I remember at one point realizing that Chip was actually sharing something very special with me about his dreams and hopes for the future, for his career, and for the Wikimedia projects. And he had so many ideas and such passion for how he thought the Wikimedia projects were set to play an important role in the world. And he had many creative ideas for getting there. And that conversation really stuck with me. And it's something I've reflected on many times when I think about Chip, his enthusiasm, his dedication, and his dreams. So I think about that often and wanted to share that with
Chip was amazing, really fantastic. He was so passionate, so helpful, so cheerful. It was always his pleasure to help out. He was always there with great ideas and always keen to offer his advice and support. And he was so cheerful, always with a smile, always with uh, a smirk sometimes. And, he would share his love of tech and of helping people, of his voodoo chips and everything else. And he brought so much happiness and fun to the office, and really miss him.
Chip revolutionized my experience as a remote staffer at the foundation. What I remember him best for is quietly and almost casually caring, reaching out to ask me how it was going, to ask me how it could be better. And then he did something about my problems, about all of our problems. Chip just made it all better for everyone, and he did it with down-to-earth cheer and a great generosity.
Hey, it's Val. It's a little crazy over here, so I feel like it's a perfect time to give a little tribute to Chip, because the Wikimedia Foundation was always crazy when we worked there together a long time ago. I have a little Emma Sky here. She's a month old. She's about as old as my son was when Chip came to visit right after his surgery, and he brought the infamous Mr. Bear, the best bear ever, as Uncle Chip would say. So there's an Uncle Chip over here. And I have so many fond memories with Chip, whether it be, he was at my wedding, he held my son, we had tons of walks and time after work and during work, and I feel fortunate enough to say that he was my friend, not just my colleague. But I think something that will always make me giggle about Chip is when we went to Burning Man, we were like super prepared, had spreadsheets. I had been there several times with my husband, and Chip came with us, and we found out that it was raining, and so we had never experienced Burning Man with rain, and so we were like, we need to get a cot. And so Chip had a tent, and he had a cot, but we did not check to see if the cot actually fit inside the tent. And so every morning we were blessed enough to wake up to Chip halfway out of his tent. We got to welcome his toes every morning, and it was really, really sweet and fun. And he and I are both so detailed, and the fact that we missed that somehow is just makes me really smile. So Chip is a really amazingly special human, and I'm really grateful that he was in my life as long as he was, and he's changed me forever. And so thanks for letting me say a little I love you, Chip. Chip's mama, you did a great job. He's a spectacular human being, and being his friend was an honor. All right, bye.
Hi, I'm Lynette. My memories of Chip include his contagious creative energy for solving problems. He had endless ideas about our work culture and how software and tools could make us better at our jobs. It was Chip who instituted Zendesk and Lumio and creative use of the Raspberry Pi systems. It was also Chip that helped bring life and smiles and decent beer to the mixers we began having at that time. He was a talented writer and natural teacher, and had a gift of making you feel comfortable when learning something new. He was tremendously excited and committed to the development of an intern program in our IT department. He mentored 4 young IT interns during his time, including our own Josephine. Lori, I thank you for raising such a lovely young man. His bright energy, smile, and spirit live on in my work, and his departure from this earth all too soon.
Hello, dear friends, colleagues, Chip's family. I am recording this short tribute from a hotel room in Abuja, Nigeria, where I have come to work with our local community of volunteers in Nigeria. And I'm sorry I couldn't attend in person the meeting in San Francisco. I would have liked to, as one of the people who have been at the foundation a long time, including all of Chip's tenure at the foundation. I remember Chip as invariably sunny, literally a light source. He would come into a room and his face, his smile, his sunny disposition would literally light up the room. Everything was better with Chip around. He transformed the Wikimedia Foundation's technical capacities, abilities, and he built up the Office IT department. I'm sure others can say much of what I could say, so I want to focus on something I have a unique angle on, and that is a small program that we started last year after Chip's departure called the Hardware Donation Program, in which we take retired hardware, laptops that have been used for 3 or 4 years at the foundation, are still in working order, but our engineers need newer machines, so they are rotated out of service. And we used to just donate them to local charities here in San Francisco. Last year we came up with a program where we actually donate them to our own volunteers, people who really could use fairly modern, still working equipment. And we deliver them, we deliver those laptops to our volunteers at international conferences and events. And in this way, machines that Chip still handled or installed and prepared for the first time, those machines are still making an impact in the world today. I have personally delivered such machines that Chip originally prepared and took care of to volunteers who write Wikipedia, who contribute to free knowledge in India, in Eastern Europe, in Asia, here in Africa, in South America, etc. So in that small way, his work and his contributions are literally still having an impact all over the world. And it's one more candle I can light in memory of Chip, who was a wonderful colleague and who left us much, much too soon. My heart is with you today. Thank you.
Chip was one of the very first people I met at the Wikimedia Foundation, and definitely one of my favorites. He always had a smile on his face, always took time to check in with me. He was incredibly supportive and so quick with helping whenever I needed it. We did not work that closely together, but I really miss his warm and positive presence.
Hello, my name is Gail Karen Young. I was the Chief Talent and Culture Officer at the Wikimedia Foundation while Chip was there, and I'm really glad to just have a few moments to remember a little bit more about him, because he was a really dear person, not just to me, but to a lot of the staff, and it was really hard for us to hear of his going. I think, like many people, he was one of the first people that I encountered at the foundation because he did so much welcoming. He set up all of our internal IT infrastructure, and as a part of that, he was a face that oriented people to the organization. And he not only oriented us just because he took care of our software and hardware, but because he really believed in the organization's mission and vision, and he wanted to make a difference, and he was so beautifully and painfully earnest in that desire to be present, to make a difference. He was always really good at telling me when things were up, and when he made time to talk to me about something that was going on in the organization, I sat up and listened because it mattered, and because he was paying attention to things, and he paid attention to things on a
on a systemic level, not just as an individual level. I miss him. He was a really good, kind, thoughtful man, willing to go above and beyond. I once brought a bunch of North Korean defectors who had really suffered under the Kim regime into the office, and he worked with me in terms of looking for ways to help them. He would prototype little devices using open source software that he thought could be really useful to them. And I just love that he did that. He wanted to make a difference. He wanted to do a bit more, and he was somebody I feel like who lived out the values of the organization, and he helped the organization live out its values, and as a part of the community, and just for himself, because he was so lovely and good. He's really deeply, deeply missed.
One of my favorite memories with Chip was actually a really stressful time, and I forget why, but something was happening with a computer, a conference room, something, and he came to help. And I remember him just totally diffusing me in the situation by telling stories of his, what he described as a far more stressful and worse job at the Apple Store in Times Square. And he just told anecdote after anecdote, and did a wonderful job of putting my stress in perspective, and also making it a fun engagement rather than one that felt tense and time sensitive and all of that. And it was just so, looking back, just such a perfect representation of Chip and who he was, and how he would bring light and joyful energy to every situation. I'm really thankful for that memory and for my memories of him in general.
Dear Laurie and Chuck, and all of Chip's family, and all his many friends that I didn't know. My name is Anasuya, and I knew Chip through the Wikimedia Foundation, where we were colleagues. I cannot possibly imagine how your everyday must feel like without Chip physically in your lives. So I imagine Chip is with you in every possible way, all the time. And I thought it would be important to tell you, as I'm sure all of his friends do, that Chip stays with us in unexpected ways. We celebrate him, we celebrate what he meant to us, and we think of him in so many little and joyful ways. I think about him when my laptop stops working, because Chip and I had long conversations about my many laptops not working. I think about him when I walk down a particular street in Auckland where I met him last, and where we promised each other we would have tea or coffee, and we never did. I think about him when I look at the work we continue to do in the world, bringing social justice and technology and a sense of an inclusive internet together, and know that Chip would really celebrate that with us, would be right in the middle of it with us, because Chip is one of the people I think about when I think of fierce integrity, a wry sense of humor, incredible commitment, just dedication and perseverance at hacking at any possible solution that makes life better for people, not necessarily in big and overarching ways, but even in just the everyday. He made the everyday for so many of us as his colleagues at the Wikimedia Foundation a happier place, because he spent his time trying to make sure that we enjoyed the work we did as well as we could. And more than anything else, I miss the thoughtful conversations I had with him. Those were unexpected. In the middle of the kitchen, walking out for lunch, trying to get a conference room ready, we would talk about life, the universe, and everything. And Chip's views on life, the universe, and everything are memories I continue to treasure. So thank you for sharing him with us, and please know that we continue to celebrate him as you do. Thank you.